So, first of all, tell us about your experience in the late 70s and 80s as a football fan.
I was a fan of a First Division team, and I would go regularly to virtually all home games every Saturday. And I'd moved up from London to the Midlands, basically. This was a time of, I think Margaret Thatcher had recently come to power, but high unemployment, strikes. You know, everybody, there was strikes every newspaper. There doesn't seem to be any good news in 70s, late 70s, early 80s Britain. As well as going to home games, I went to quite a few away games. So basically, most Saturdays involved meeting up with friends in the morning, and basically the whole day was given over to, well, although the game of football's only 90 minutes, pre-match rituals, post-match rituals. It was all standing then, of course, and you would be standing among, well, something like 10,000 fellow fans. Wolves played quite well in those days, so you know it was good fun. So that lasted for about 3 years, I suppose. Yeah, and the highlight would probably go into Wembley.
Why do you think there is so much rivalry between separate fans?
Yeah, I guess it's because you're pretty similar in most respects, but it's a competitive rivalry. I think a lot of it's to do with the fact that when I was going to matches, a lot of the fans, the active singing on the terrace fans, were young men, sort of late teens up to sort of late 20s. At that time, you've got a lot of energy, and it's very much a competitive atmosphere. You want to get one over on them. You want to do, you want your team to win. You want theirs to lose. And of course, a lot of insults against Liverpool, particularly insulting. There were a lot of anti-Liverpool songs. You'll never work again. Things like that.
What was it exactly that attracted you to this lifestyle?
Lack of anything else to do, if I'm honest, really. I had I worked part-time, so I had some money on the weekends, and really my interests were music, clothes, and football. Bit of a cliche, I know, but it's true. In the midst of all this, nothing really sums it up more than kind of the music of the time, and the song that really encapsulates the whole thing, I think, is the Specials' Ghost Town. With a lack of places to go for entertainment, and everywhere you did go, often places would be closed down, there would be fighting, all the rivalry, none of that helped.
There were no seats on the terraces in those days, so could you describe to us what the atmosphere was like?
Yeah, no, I compare it to the two matches I've been to in the last few years. There's no comparison to the atmosphere that there was back then. When you walked through those turnstiles, and you were on the terrace, and the singing was tremendous. I mean, the only other comparison I can give you is like singing in church when everybody's singing the same hymn. But of course, it's not a hymn. Sometimes it's quite abusive and violent. But you get carried away. You're jumping up and down. You're clapping. It's a great feeling. And when your team scores, suddenly everyone you're with, you lurch forward, and it can be a bit dangerous. You find yourself flying sort of 15, 20 feet, and hoping there's someone at the end you can just sort of cling on to. As we walked in to the stadium, the announcer put on the skids Into the Valley, which has a great drum intro, and of course it's perfect for a terrace anthem because the chorus is oh oh, and everybody, thousands of us were all singing it as we went into that stadium, and of course we won that game, so that was brilliant.
Tell us about your worst and most frightening experience.
As an away fan, it was an FA Cup game. I think it was Swindon, and we took quite a lot of away support there, and I think we must have lost or something because it was quite a nasty atmosphere after the end of the game. And as away fans, after the end of the game, you have to get back to your coach to get home, of course, and opposition fans sometimes lie in wait for you. And there was a lot of fighting that day, I think. And then the worst thing I saw was, and I'll always remember it, walking along. I remember people picking up bricks, and some guy picked up a paving stone. I heard a horrible sound that I'll always remember as somebody got hit over the head with it. There was a time, a home game, just walking up the high street with my mate, 18, a white van stopped, and two much bigger guys and older guys than us got out and just started punching and kicking me and my mate.
Would you consider there to be a strength in numbers aspect that influences fans as a crowd?
When you're surrounded by thousands of other fans, yeah, I mean, I've seen people, you wouldn't think they would say boo to a goose, and they probably wouldn't if they were on their own. And your individuality is kind of subsumed. You tend to get carried away with what everyone else is doing. You feel part of a big something bigger than yourself. So you're part of a bigger group, and you start singing and behaving in a way you wouldn't do if it was just you. That's definitely the case, I think.
When fans, and you in particular, are together, is it true to say that your inner animal is released?
Sometimes that could be channeled into, I suppose you could say, inner animal. Yeah, as you know, I mean, you could become quite aggressive and shouting and running, and yeah, actually, there are moments. It could take over. Yeah.
Just a simple yes or no. Do you see similarities between tribes and tribal rivalry of 1,000 years ago and the modern day football fan?
I would say yes.